take the leap. It's never too late to pursue your dreams.
Welcome to Agency for Change, a podcast from KidGlov that brings you the stories of change makers who are actively working to improve our communities. In every episode, we'll meet with people who are making a lasting impact in the places we call home.
You've probably seen the term cold pressed on bottles of juice at the grocery store, but what does that actually mean? Well, unlike typical juicing, which involves blending ingredients to extract the juice, then heating it to kill harmful bacteria, cold pressed juice is made from applying thousands of pounds of pressure via hydraulic press. Afterward, the juice is processed using cold water and high pressure rather than heat, which kills any pathogens and extends its shelf life. So fans of cold pressed juice maintain that these juices taste better and that they're more nutritious than juices made via traditional methods. And they're voting with their wallets. Market research company Technovia predicts that cold pressed juice will grow to a $11.67 billion market by 2025, with 50% of that growth occurring just in the United States. Cold pressed juice is clearly having a movement, and who better to help explain this trend than the founder of a growing cold pressed juice company. So stick with us as we find out how this organization got its start and why they decided to become a certified B Corporation and how they're giving back with every single bottle they sell. Hey everyone, this is Lynn Weinman, President and Chief Strategist at KidGlov. Welcome to another episode of the Agency for Change podcast. Today's guest is Walter Nimocks, COO and founder of Just Made, which produces premium cold-pressed juices using differentiated ingredients and functional plants and herbs. Walter, I'm eager to talk with you today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Lynn. It's great to be here.
I am looking forward to talking to you. I am already thirsty for some of your cold pressed juice. But for those who aren't familiar with the company, can you introduce us to Just Made?
Absolutely. Well, Just Made is a premium cold pressed juice brand that my wife and I started way back in 2016. Seems like a lifetime ago.
We've all been through a lot since 2016, for sure.
We sure have. We started off with 4 SKUs that we launched in 2017. The original idea for the brand was to focus on tropical juices. And my wife is from Ecuador, and I lived in South America with her, and also before meeting and marrying her. And so I always believed that there was a real opportunity for introducing tropical fruits, tropical juices, the whole juicing culture that you see in South America and Central America. And so that was the original concept for Just Made. As the business has kind of grown and developed, we've seen that there's really a much bigger opportunity focusing on the premium segment of the market. And that's where we've really tried to position the brand since then.
That makes a lot of sense. As you mentioned tropical juices, I'm thinking mango and pineapple. Are those some of the flavors you use? Are really flavors. You don't use flavors. You use fruit. You use real fruit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we certainly use mango. We use a lot of pineapple. In fact, the interesting thing about our pineapple, we don't use the yellow pineapple that's really common that you see here in the U.S. We use a white pineapple, which is the yellow pineapple in the industry, so to speak, is known as an MD2. And it's that's the variety that was developed by Delmonte back in the 70s. It's very yellow, very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Almost has kind of a coconut essence to it.
Yeah.
The white pineapple is more of I guess the term might be an heirloom pineapple. It has a really nice balance between the tangy and the sweet. And so we feel like it gives a more authentic flavor. It doesn't load the juice up with a bunch of sugar unnecessarily. And I think it just gives a better flavor to the juice. So we use a white pineapple. We use pink guava
Oh,
from
wow.
Ecuador, which is one of my favorite fruits. Of course, we use mango. Up until very recently, we used papaya. In fact, we're probably going to introduce another papaya item. Papaya is great for gut health.
Mm.
It's got an enzyme in it called papain, which is fantastic for gut health. It's good for digestion and everything. We've used, well, pomegranate is, I don't know, kind of borderline. It's grown in the tropics in some places, but it's also grown in California and others. What else? My goodness. There are just so many tropical fruits that are available that, and the one of the things I fell in love with in South America was the incredible variety of tropical fruits. Like tamarind is one that I feel like is unexplored.
Something you don't really see or hear about
Yeah,
much in the US, right? A
yeah,
tamarind. What is a
exactly.
tamarind?
Tamarind comes from it's an enormous tree. It's got a leaf that's it's a leaf that kind of grows on a stem. It's a very small leaf. Anyway, I'm drawing a blank on describing the leaf, and there's another type of tree. But anyway, it's a really large tree, and it grows in kind of a seed pod, light brown seed pod, and you crack it open, and inside of there's the tamarind fruit, which is almost like it's a paste that surrounds these kind of seeds that are kind of like pumpkin seeds. They're white, a little bit larger than pumpkin seeds, but they're white. There's I mean, just dozens of fruits that we could go on about that naranjilla and lulo, which are the same fruit but called different things in different countries. There's lucama, which comes from Peru. There's taxo, which comes from Colombia. Just incredible variety that people make juice, and they're part of daily life in Latin America.
I feel like I have learned so much just in the first few minutes here. And I obviously can tell that you have a lot of passion for the work. So that leads me to wonder about your founder's story. How did you come about with your wife starting Just Made?
Well, it goes back a few years. So we met when I was working in Ecuador, and we actually had the idea of starting a juice company way back in the late 90s.
Oh, that's a
Um,
long time ago.
it is a very long time ago. This has been a long time in the making. So I actually developed a brand and did some initial artwork and things like that, thinking that there was a real opportunity for tropical fruits and tropical juices in North America because I would come up here in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I wouldn't see any real variety. I
Yeah.
saw I saw orange juice, I saw grapefruit juice, I saw apple juice, and that was about it.
Sometimes we get
Um,
crazy and mix a little pineapple into that orange, right? That'd be
exactly.
crazy.
Yes, yes. And so started kind of developing this idea, and we had a young family at the time, and I needed to put food on the table, and so
Yeah.
I didn't start the business then. Around 2002 is when I first started learning more about high pressure processing. There's a retailer here in Texas called HEB that I had noticed that they had a brand that they had launched called Fresher Lasting. And it was, they had guacamole, they had avocado halves that were processed using high pressure processing. They had pico de gallo, they had mango halves, and a couple of other items. And I thought, wow, that there might be some application for juice there.
Yeah.
And then at the time, there was only like a pouch. It was like a Capri Sun type pouch that you could. And I thought, well, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't be the ideal, packaging. Then, along about 2011 or 2012, when Suja launched, also noticed that they were using high pressure processing, and that's when the idea kind of struck me again. I continued, working in food, have worked in food all of my life, and left my last company in 2016, and we started studying the market, and at that time decided that it was a good time to launch Just Made, and that's what we did, and that's where we started off. Like I said, launching the tropical juices, but since then we've evolved the brand into more premium juices that use tropical fruits,
Yeah.
but we also use other types of fruits and vegetables as well.
That's a great story. I appreciate that too, because as an entrepreneur myself, you have to balance the risk of starting out with the need to take care of your family.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that as well. And in a way, maybe it worked out really great for you because it gave you the chance to learn about the cold pressed side of the business. So
Yeah.
I have heard that one of the taglines you use is made justly.
Yes.
And I'm really curious to hear that side of your story as well.
Absolutely. Well, the name Just Made is has a double meaning. Of course, it's just made justly.
Yeah.
And we knew that we wanted to start a brand that had a purpose and that had a mission behind it. And I studied economics, and I kind of consider myself a armchair economist, I guess you'd say. So
I don't hear that from very many people. There are not very many people that choose economics as a hobby.
And I'm particularly interested in economics when it comes to international development. And having lived outside of the US and now, of course, living here, I've always been deeply interested in what it is that makes some countries flourish and others don't.
Yeah.
And I've always had this question, this burning desire to understand why. But anyway, just trying to develop a brand that would contribute to development in some of these countries. And I listened to and read about a lot of different ways that or economic theories around development. And one of the things that comes through a lot of times is that investments in infrastructure are usually the best sorts of investments for a developing economy to kind of make it to the next rung on the ladder or two or three rungs up on the ladder. And that, of course, helps people, helps their livelihoods, helps them to grow and develop and flourish as a society. We knew that we weren't going to generate enough money to build bridges or to light highways or massive infrastructure and that kind of thing. So
not yet, anyway.
Not yet. So my wife is an educator. She taught in the classroom for about 15 years, both in the U.S. and also in South America. We've raised our children, always trying to make education a priority in their lives. And so we've settled on education as a good way to be able to give back in a meaningful way, in a way that we felt like would pay dividends in the future for the people that get the money or get the benefit of it. And so we developed something it's called 5 cents for teachers. And so it's for every bottle that we sell, we give back 5 cents to support education in rural Latin America. And that's where we get most of our raw ingredients from. So it kind of has a double benefit for us as a business. One, it gives us a purpose why we wanted to run a business and do this. But it also helps when people are perhaps trying to make decisions on who they're going to supply mango with when it's a short crop, let's say.
Yeah.
Or, whatever can happen in the supply chain, maybe they will give us a little bit of a nod because they know that we're giving back to a school that their child attends to, and that, we're trying to help them, and, perhaps in some small way they'll help us as well. So there's a benefit to us as well by doing that.
Walter, I love what you're doing with the 5 cents for teachers. And, I have a lot of people ask me, because KidGlov is also a purpose-focused business. I have people ask me, does that get in the way of being a successful business? And are you being too soft? And are you losing your focus? And what you just said there, I think is important. You didn't choose to have the 5 cents for teachers program or to be a purpose-driven business because you wanted it to help you in the business way. But I think it does help. I think that businesses and individuals who are doing good, people see that, customers see that. I mean, we're seeing more and more research about how consumers want to vote for brands that are doing good by spending their money. Suppliers want to do the same. Governments, in some cases, want to do the same. So I really think that's fantastic what you're doing. And I'm curious, what kind of impact have you been able to have over the years? Are there any examples of projects or people that are particularly memorable for you?
It's a great question. We've had the ability to be able to help schools in Mexico and in Nicaragua and Ecuador and very soon in Brazil.
Wow.
So that's where we source a lot of ingredients from. I'd like to one day hopefully work with some schools in Peru where we also get some ingredients from.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a quick story about the very first school that we approached. It was in Mexico in the state of San Luis Potosí, in a community outside of the capital, probably about, I don't know, 20 miles outside of the capital. And it was our prickly pear supplier that had introduced us to this school. It's totally supported by the community. They don't receive, it's not like in the US where we have, public schools that are funded by local governments and property taxes and all this kind of stuff, which has got its own problems. But it's just supported by the community.
Wow. That's a lot of money for a community to pull together for education.
Well, it is, but there's not a whole lot of money there. They've got buildings and they've got teachers that might have graduated from a local university. But one of the things the director told me is that they have a really hard time keeping teachers because they get so frustrated.
Yeah.
They come out of school and they think, I want to really help these rural communities. They last about a year or maybe 2 years. And then they leave because there are no resources.
Yeah.
And there's no way to really help the kids. And so we went to the school and I fully expected the director to tell me, well, we need, we need some books and we need some pencils and we need different learning materials and maybe an overhead projector or something like that. But what she told me is we need functioning bathrooms.
Whoa.
Wow. And she said, you know how hard it is to tell a third grader to just hold it?
Yeah, that totally disrupts them. It disrupts their classroom. It creates a situation where they don't want to return. Oh my goodness. Exactly. The things we take for granted.
Exactly. And so we spent what I think was a pretty modest amount of money. We brought some running water to the school. We fixed the bathrooms. We have a girls and a boys bathroom.
Fantastic.
And there was a little bit of money left over, so we repaired broken windows. We repaired some light fixtures, and that was how we were able to start a relationship with the school. And since then it's gone on, and we've been able to help in other ways too. But it's two things I'd like to say. Is one, we try to use the money in the most impactful way for that particular school, rather than saying we're just going to buy books. Well, they didn't need books. They don't need.
You were present. You really wanted to help, and you asked, right? It wasn't about you. It was 100% about what they needed.
Yeah. It was really an eye opener for me in how important it is to understand their needs rather than try to impose something from outside.
Yeah. Wow. That's what a great story, Walter. I have talked with a number of companies that are certified B Corps, founders of those companies, like you and Just Made. And for those of you who are listening that haven't heard about B Labs and certified B Corps, it's a global network of companies who have met very rigorous guidelines, standards for how we have the highest social and environmental performance is probably the easiest way to say it. But I'm curious, Walter, what did becoming a B Corp mean to Just Made and to you?
Well, I first learned of B Corp through a supplier. And once I heard just kind of the 5-minute description of it, I knew that that was something that we wanted to join. And I was familiar with fair trade and had worked with fair trade in coffee pretty closely, had worked with fair trade bananas pretty closely, and also had worked with fair trade sugar and honey and agave and products like that. So it's a very different type of program. B Corp really struck a nerve with me because it was, to me, I mean, I'm sure there are others that are better versed in B Corp might disagree, but I feel like it's really using business as a force for good.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's kind of taking everything up a notch. And it's not just about paying your suppliers a fair price, but it's also how you work with your suppliers, how you treat your suppliers, how you partner with them. It's also about being a good steward of the environment. And it's also about being a good leader of a company and treating your employees fairly and going above and beyond with your employees. And all of that resonated with me. Once we started the certification process, it's pretty rigorous.
It's very rigorous. I have been on the record many times saying it's hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I'm sure you agree.
Absolutely, it's worth it. And it's not easy. It's not the first few times the online questionnaire. It's like, wow, we've got some gaps. We've
right.
got some
you
things
think you're like,
address.
We're doing good things. And then they ask you the questions that you're like, I've never thought about that question before. I've never thought about, but it causes you to think about it. It forces you to think about it.
Definitely. And to be perfectly honest, one of those things that where we can improve and where B Corp is really pushing us is to become carbon neutral or at least understand our carbon footprint well enough to be able to say, okay, we can get there by 2025 or 2030, whatever the date is. That's some work that we need to do to better understand our carbon footprint. We've done some preliminary work, but it's something that we hope to do a lot more of in this coming year.
That's fantastic. When KidGlov went through the certification process, we started just thinking, hey, this would be a verification of the fact that we're doing things right. But like you, there were questions that we'd never really thought of before. There were things that we believed, but we hadn't really baked into our culture with processes and documentations. I would say at the end of the day, it made us a better company.
Mm-hmm.
Would you, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, it makes you think, that there are companies that are out there that are really performing at a much higher level than what we are. Maybe in the way that, health insurance is a big expense for any company, especially for a smaller company.
Absolutely. I'm nodding my head vigorously. People can't see us, but I'm nodding my head vigorously. It's very expensive, but the right thing to do.
It is. And it can be as expensive as maybe 2 employees for a business our size. And we're not actively trying to recruit 2 more people right now, but it's expensive. But there's the expectation from B Corp that we provide full health care coverage, fully paid for everything. It's something that we're working on. We do provide health care, don't get me wrong, but to reach the you know, the
The best in the
ideal,
world
the
level.
best in the
Yeah.
world, the gold standard, the gold plans, 100% paid for, all that kind of stuff. It's, you know, zero deductibles, all that kind of stuff. It's a mountain we're still climbing.
Right. Right. But at least gives us something to focus on, I think. So,
Yes.
Walter, thank you for sharing about that. We've talked about your purpose, how you started becoming a B Corp. I want to circle back to the juice
Okay.
because I can tell you love talking about the juice. I wanted to ask you about one other thing that I saw on your website. There's a lot of emphasis on quality and functionality of the plants. And you talked about that a little bit in our first question, but can you tell us a little bit more about the meaning of functional ingredients?
Well, I mean, it's a term that's kind of hard to define, honestly, but it's our definition for it is maybe added ingredients that provide a specific health benefit.
Okay.
So an example of that, we use a number of functional ingredients. We use turmeric, we use ginger, we use ashwagandha. Pretty soon we're going to start incorporating lion's mane. We use chaga mushrooms for immunity benefits, immunity strengthening immune systems. We've used holy basil in the past. We've used we still use camu. So it's all of those ingredients add something to the juice above and beyond what the fruit does. So camu is the last one I mentioned. It's a little known ingredient, comes from the eastern side of Peru in the Amazon basin, and it's got probably more vitamin C than anything they found on Earth.
Wow.
And it's something that we incorporate with our pink guava juice. Pink guava also has a lot of vitamin C, and it actually has 5 times the amount of vitamin C than oranges do.
Wow.
Even though it's not a citrus fruit, and it's also got lots of lycopene in it. It's got lots of healthy fiber, digestive fiber. But you know, adding in the camu really ramps up the vitamin C in that juice, which is, you know, vitamin C, of course, is good for immunity. You know, our mom always told us to
Right. I'm
drink a
thinking as
little extra
we
vitamin C. Yeah,
absolutely, as we head into a cold and flu season here,
yeah.
that sounds like a good natural thing that we all should be leaning into.
Well, it's also good for skin health, believe it or not.
Oh,
Good for bone health because calcium and vitamin C work together in the body to be able to deliver actually the calcium to your bones. So you need it for a lot of different reasons. It's not just immunity, but it's a vital nutrient. And so anyway, that's kind of how I would describe it.
that's
Functional ingredients,
fascinating.
kind of a roundabout way.
I think that sounds fantastic. So, Walter, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? What might be different for Just Made and what might be the same?
Well, I still hope we're producing juices. Still hope that we're, you know, servicing our core consumers. We are, as I shared a little bit earlier, Lynn, we're in about 16 states right now.
Yeah,
We hope to be in who knows, maybe all 50 states by then.
that would be fantastic.
That would be great. We are also looking at some products that are kind of tangential to juices.
Yeah.
So when we created the company, we named it Just Made Foods, not Just Made Juice. And the reason we did that is because we see this beyond just juice. We see opportunities throughout the kind of fresh departments of retailers for an innovative brand to bring something new, healthy, and, you know, exciting for the consumer, hopefully.
Yeah.
We see opportunities a lot of different places in the fresh departments. And so I would say in 5 years, I would hope that juices are maybe only 50% of our business and the other 50% might be other products.
That sounds like a great plan. I look forward to watching for you on the shelves of the supermarket where I tend to shop. So, Walter, next, I want to ask you my favorite question. And I ask everybody who's on the podcast this question because I am actually very inspired by motivational quotes. I collect them, I have them written and posted all around me. I would like a Walter Nimocks original quote to inspire our listeners.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
You're on the hot seat.
Wow. I would say maybe my quote would be, take the leap. It's never too late to pursue your dreams. I was 50 years old when we started Just Made. And as I described earlier, this has been something a long time in the making. And it's something that, frankly, I've always wanted to have my own business, having spent my career working for others and learned a lot and made a lot of mistakes along the way. I think starting a business at 50, it gave me the ability to have that sort of experience.
Yeah.
Also to have the contacts in the industry that I can call on, and especially when we were small or smaller and needed an extra hand or needed somebody just to pick up the phone or answer an email. It really helps a lot. I couldn't imagine trying to start a business at 22 or 24 or 20, even 30 without having a network behind you and without having a little bit of experience, a few scars that you've learned from along the way.
Those scars are great teachers. As someone who also took the leap in my mid 40s, that club of entrepreneurs in their 40s and 50s is pretty small, right? But yet I actually did some research at one time, and the success ratio for those who start their businesses in their 40s and their 50s is actually much higher than those who start younger as well. So a little bit more inspiration for anyone out there who maybe feels like it's too late to take the leap. I believe it's never too late. So, Walter, for our listeners who have been listening, they want to get in on the functional ingredients, the pink guava, the white pineapple. How can they learn more about Just Made?
Well, our website's a great place to start, justmade.com.
That's easy enough to remember, and we will put that link in the show notes.
Yep. Social media, we have a wonderful young woman that works on social media for us. And so you can see us on Instagram, Facebook, and everything. It's at Just Made Juice.
Perfect.
And those are probably the two best ways.
Great. And if we wanted to investigate more, the 5 cents for teachers, I'm assuming that's on the website as well.
Absolutely. Yep. It's on the website. You can also email us anytime at hello@justmade.com.
Very good.
And somebody will get right back to you if anyone's looking for more specific information.
That sounds great. So, Walter, as we wrap up this great conversation today, what is the most important thing you would like our listeners to remember about the work that you're doing?
I think, businesses of any size can be a force for good, to make this a better world, a better place to live. There's a lot of problems in the food industry, and it's a lot of it's driven, I think, by just the blind pursuit for profits. And it's always, how can we engineer the cost out of a product, as opposed to how do we deliver a good quality product that will stand on its own and will be something that consumers will enjoy and will remember and come back to over and over again. And we try to do that at Just Made, and we use quality ingredients. One example is our lemonades are made with organic honey. Honey is not a cheap ingredient. It's not a cheap sweetener. We all know the cheap sweetener is high fructose corn syrup, which costs probably 1/10 of what honey does. But we use honey because we feel like it's a more wholesome, a more natural sweetener that we incorporate into our juice, and it's into our lemonades, and it delivers a better flavor. That's what I mean by there's a lot of problems with the food industry, and I'm hopeful that companies like Just Made will be able to grow and make a difference and correct some of those problems in the future.
You can lead the way in that effort. Walter, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I fully believe the world needs more people like you and your wife, more companies like Just Made. Thank you for taking the time to share with us today.
It was my pleasure, Lynn. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed today's Agency for Change podcast. To hear all our interviews with those who are making a positive change in our communities, or to nominate a changemaker you'd love to hear from, visit KidGlov.com at KIDGLOV.com to get in touch. As always, if you like what you've heard today, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.